Hello there, this is Richard Palfrey on Fitness Without Filter for another episode of Ask a PT. Okay, so I've had some questions come in via my DMs and other sources, and I've got them noted down here in front of me. As always, with my channel, my podcast, everything else, my endeavor here is to answer questions from people honestly, to provide realistic information. I'm not interested in what will look good on Instagram or what might impress you over a few days of effort. I want to get you honest answers to questions that you might genuinely have. So here we go. Okay, first question from a teenage lad of 16. What would be the best way for me to get in shape? Okay, buddy, I have absolutely no clue of your current physique and your health, but let's go for some generic broad strokes. Okay. If you are in your teens as a young man, you are full of all the good testosterone and all the other hormones kicking around in your body. You're into your puberty, you're into your growth, you're becoming a strong young man, but you're looking for that extra kind of stimuli to help you, as you said, get into shape. Now, I don't know what your current body mass is, whether you're a little bit overweight, whether you're a bit lean, skinny, tall, short, broad, whatever it might be. So here's going to be my advice to you, okay? You're typically going to be thinking bodybuilding, I need to be this big, this broad, shoulders and arms like this, and be ripped down to 0% body fat. You absolutely do not, okay? And beware of the kind of ropey influences that might try and come your way, going, buy this off me, take this injection, all that kind of stuff. Avoid that like the fucking plague. You do not need any of that in your system. Believe me, there's a lot of people out there on YouTube and other social platforms that are going to say, oh, I get like this by buying this off a guy online that I could never possibly meet is in a foreign country or whatever it might be. Don't go down that route, okay? So there are some basic helpful tips I'm going to give you now that will help you to get in shape, all right? First off, your lifestyle. I would say typically start to reduce your screen time, especially as it gets to the point of going to bed. So you get into a more natural, happy, healthier rhythm of your lifestyle. When it comes to your food, think about healthy choices. I'm not going to say don't ever eat any of these kinds of food and avoid this kind of stuff because, for a start, people don't want to do that kind of thing. But also, as a teenager, you're never going to listen to a grown man who says to you, stop eating your favorite kind of snack foods because you're not going to do it. Instead, what I'm going to say to you is start making intelligent, informed, healthy choices most of the time. And when you feel like enjoying yourself for a treat now and again or a snack or you're out with your buddies, yeah, then fine. It's not going to impact you greatly at that point in your life. What I would advise you is if you're looking to improve your quality of health and become a bit healthier and fitter, make sure that those indulgences are the rarity, not the daily norm. Okay. And that will start to have an impact in how you live your lifestyle. All right. And your health. When it comes to exercise, then, yes, I recommend joining a gym would be a good thing for you. It's a place you can go and focus. It's a part of your routine where you start to build in that kind of expectation of, right, on these days, I go to this place, I put in the effort, and it'll start to impart these good habits for you at this early stage of your life, which is great. All right. Now, as I said, I'm sure you're going to be typically thinking about isolation exercises, get all the big muscles going, get the pump going, all the rest of it. I'm not going to say to you, don't do those. What I would advise you is you're going to get best results by looking to work your whole body more often than the isolation exercises. So think about pushing, pulling. That's going to be bench, row, squat, deadlift, but also things with a sled, pushing it, pulling it, carrying weights. Basically, what could pass for hard labor a good while ago. Start using all of your body because the more muscle mass you use, the more calories you use, the more muscles you're going to give shape. And also, you're going to start to get that trimmer, more kind of pinch waistline than you otherwise would get from doing isolation exercises because you're using your whole body. Okay. So if I was to say to you, break down your workouts without giving you any kind of programming, put in the whole body exercises. And after you've done those, then do an amount of isolation exercises to start working some specific muscles when you've already used a lot of your energy for the bigger exercises, the compound exercises, that would be the lifts, etc., to add in that kind of aesthetic kind of look, the beach muscles or that kind of thing. All right. Okay. I hope that helps. By the way, feel free to DM me. I mean, you've got my details, so you can always get in touch in the future. I might get specific if you want those specifics. All right. Okay. Question number 2 then. What is the best way to start eating well? All right. Well, that tails in a little bit to the previous question. The easiest way for anybody to start eating well, okay, and let's change the phraseology there. Let's change the language. Eating well. Let's say eating to a better standard of nutrition, okay? The easiest way to start doing that is to think about your choices. Now, don't go into some kind of ridiculous macro detail about every little thing and do you need to weigh this and measure this and all the rest of it that the pro bodybuilders may go into. All we're saying is intelligent choices from the off. All right. Do I want to have 5 sodas a day? Probably not. So switch them out for something else, or do go for the non-sugar sweetener based options if possible, because you're going to remove the calories that you otherwise drink that you don't suspect. If you're someone who goes for the whole coffee shop coffees and you have a dash of this syrup and a add of this and so and so, start taking those right down, even removing them if possible, to maybe one of those rather than 5 of those a week, just to reduce your overall calorie consumption. Start to make the positive changes. When it comes to the meals and the snacks that you have, just start to look for the healthier option. Do you want the cheap, nasty version of that, or could you go for a slightly higher quality version that's not of too much of exaggerated price? Just improve the choices that you make. You can go for buy the lean ground beef or minced beef, as we say in the UK. Maybe do a little bit of squeeze and add a few ingredients, make your own patties, make your own burgers, rather than buy the really cheap, nasty, low quality ones in the same supermarket. All that kind of stuff. I mean, these days, despite what people say about the economy, it is not that hard to eat healthy. It does require a little bit of effort on your part. All right. And I'll probably do another video on this in the future, because it seems to be a common question. But that would be the easiest way I would advise you to start eating healthier, eating well, as you phrased it. Just start to think about positive, healthy choices as opposed to the options you might have been making for some time. All right. If, for example, you walk around a supermarket and you're always throwing in bags of crisps, handfuls of biscuits and chocolate bars, the rest of it, break that down to maybe 1 pack for the week rather than 4 or 5 packs. Because if you buy them, you're going to consume them. It's as simple as that. If you know you have those foods in your apartment, in your home, that you're going to snack on because you're bored or you're watching TV of a night time or you're on the computer, whatever it is, and that's just calories you don't need to consume, then radically reduce what you buy of those, maybe replace them with a healthier option, or just reduce in general. I mean, I go shopping of a weekend for my groceries for the week, and I buy a packet of this or a bag of that. But you know what? I only ever buy one, and that's my limitation. It's not because I have this deep-seated control of calories. I simply go, if I don't have it, I can't eat it. It's as simple as that. All right. Okay. Moving on then. Question number 3, cardio or weights for fat loss? Now, this is a really common question. It crops up quite a bit to most people in the fitness world. All right. I could go really, really in depth for this. I won't, because it's meant to be a relatable answer to this question. I would say what you've got to remember is when you start to exercise, you're providing stimuli to the body to use calories to facilitate what you're trying to do. All right, whether that's move weights, whether that's to do a bit more the heavy physical effort, or whether that's cardio based. Now, there's always going to be a point where you start to adapt to this stimuli. It starts to become easier to do, and the results, the change that you get from it, starts to decrease. If you start off trying to jog a mile a day and it's really hard going, but you keep it up over time, you're going to have a greater endurance. You're going to improve on that. It will become less and less of stress. So to facilitate the same exertion, the same number of calories used, the same effort required, you're going to have to increase either the distance that you try and run or the tempo that you try and run. And it's the same when it comes to using weights. If it's really hard to bicep curl this weight or deadlift that weight, but you stick at it, you can only manage a few reps a go. If you repeat the process over time, you become more adapted to that stress. It becomes less of an effort. You start to do more reps. And then the only way to facilitate the similar amount of effort is to increase the weight or increase the volume of what you're doing. So to use a fat loss scenario, the easiest way to advise you would be, I would say, resistance training first. Use the most muscle mass possible over a productive period of programming. Use your muscle mass, start to develop that strength, increase your protein intake. All of that will start to increase the calorie usage. It will start to look at using the calories you currently retain in body fat as well. If you factor in a minimal degree of calorie deficit, you will start to progressively work towards your goal. Okay. It's not to say you have to discard cardio at all. What you can do is look to add that maybe as a tail end of your workouts, or on the days when you don't hit the weights, you don't do resistance training. Okay. If you do any kind of research on YouTube, or you've seen videos of any kind of pro bodybuilder or whatever else on Instagram or anywhere else, what you'll see is they will have cardio sessions where they're just bent over a Stairmaster, just plugging away for 45 minutes to an hour, not because they enjoy it, and really not because they need to do it for bodybuilding. It's just their way of just smashing off more calories to aid to their physique composition. That's why they do it. Okay. If you are looking to just change your body mass percentage, sorry, fat mass percentage, you actually don't need to do cardio at all. But you could choose to add it just to get that extra kind of percentage difference to the end of your sessions. But I would say focus on using your whole body, as much muscle mass as possible, and that will help you towards your results. Going back to the calorie deficit point I mentioned earlier, really, really commonly you see people go calorie deficit and they go straight to the extreme, which will be, massively restrict what I eat, starve yourself, make life miserable. Guess what? You're not going to stick to that. So my recommendation is you don't even bother. Rather than just stress yourself out, what I suggest is you look at a constant level of what you eat. That is to say, you get used to the meals that you have. You don't necessarily worry about weighing and measuring. You stick to a rough kind of calorie intake as an average for the day and for the week. And you start to, and you just make a small reduction in the total calories, and that is it. Because then you're already into a calorie deficit because you're already exercising as well. So you've got two factors now playing into a calorie deficit, not just one. You're going to consume more than you had been because you're exercising, and you're going to use more from your body fat because you've decreased the calorie intake. Okay, so you've got two factors there adding towards your calorie deficit, not just the one. Alrighty, okay, and last one for this episode. I struggle to focus when I go for a jog, when I go for a bike ride, or when I go to the gym. Can you please help me out? Okay, right. Well, this comes down to a little bit to your motivation as to why you're exercising anyway, to be honest. Are you doing it before school, college, work, or is it after? Are you someone who goes into the gym in a kind of reluctant mindset because you do it for the results, not because you enjoy doing it? What I would suggest is you try and think about that your focus point is to get yourself out of your daily life mindset, your headspace, into your exercise headspace. Now, there are a few ways you can do it. Everyone's got earpods or earphones or whatever these days. So the easiest way I would suggest would be you go to the gym, headphones in, and your change from your daily mindset to your fitness mindset is you start to change the environment that you have. You get into that kind of process, actually getting changed to go onto the gym floor, or you're getting your trainers on to go for a run, and you're just in there. You've got a kind of music that's going to help you stay with the flow of what you're doing. Okay, it doesn't have to be crazy high tempo dance music or whatever else, trance. Some people that works. Some people it's more heavy metal, rock, whatever it is. But it's a departure from your daily mindset. All right, you just get that in. If you're going for a bit more of a circuit-based thing or something a bit more high tempo or high effort, a heavy kind of lifting session, maybe that upbeat thing is what's going to drag you along. It's what's going to push you to motivate you to keep going. If you're going for more of a sets and reps kind of scenario workout, maybe a bit of rehab movement in there, and you're just in there to get in there, you go through your programming for your session and then call it a day. I personally sometimes will go into the gym if I've got that kind of session and it's a podcast on. There's no high tempo. I'm not especially engaged with what I'm listening to. I'm not there like really focused because it's really, really important to me. But I'm listening to what's being said. It's either vaguely entertaining or vaguely interesting. And you just go through, okay, I'm doing this. I've done it. I pause. I do the next thing. And it's departure from your daily kind of headspace. All right. It takes you away from any argument you've had. You've got pending work. You've got deadlines. You've got to go and do this afterwards. You've got to make this phone call, whatever it might be. But the last thing you want to do as well, when you're in that gym space, running, whatever it is don't stress about what you're doing. If you make what you're doing and that added part of any kind of external focus, you're going to kill your workout because you just focused on less productive thought process. All right. If you are going running and cycling, I do not advise you stick headphones in and you have a blaring volume because that's obviously a safety issue, especially if you're near a road. So if you've got those in, keep the volume where you can hear what's going on, but you're not completely oblivious to everything around you. Okay, that's the questions for this episode. Okay, I hope you found those questions and answers helpful. I've got some more to film today, so they'll be coming very soon. Take care, and I will see you in future videos.